So we're going to continue working in InDesign on plate 2 and 3. We can work in the same file and we can just make more pages. So again, I might just duplicate a page. Everything would be the same. Take page 2, go up to here, this little hamburger, and choose duplicate spread. Double click and it gets bigger, right? So I'm going to kind of hide that a little bit now. For plate 2, I'm going to get rid of these, just delete them. For plate 2, we need to make a design that is using scale as a dominant element, takes a letter form, analyzes its shapes, and deletes most of it through the edges, but keeps enough of it so that you know it's actually the letter form still. Then we have to add in special characters. So I'm going to use the type tool, click and drag. So I have my bounding box. This time I'm going to use a capital N, and I'm going to use Bodoni still. Again, my bounding box, I'm going to make it large through free transform, holding the shift key down. And I'm using the edges at the bottom. You could do something like that. Would you do something like that? I guess I could still see that that's an N, right? Is it using a lot of scale? Well, it's kind of a large letter, but you don't see much of it. You could go like this. Would that be an N? It is very abstract. Could it be another letter? This is much more abstract than, say, that. Well, that could be an M. This could be an N because of the little serif that's here. So you have an idea of the right side being used, the left side being used. But again, I want to use scale. I want to use a lot of something, right? So I'm going to throw it over here on the right-hand side. And again, this bounding box is creating problems for me. So I'm going to do type, create outlines, snaps it right in there, use my free transform tool so I can get even bigger. And I'm going to butt this up against the bottom. I like that foundation element at the bottom, and I'm going to scooch this over so just this little serif is showing, because if I got rid of it, it could be an M, right? So I need something to let me know that there's a tall leg that goes up there, and how much of that serif needs to show is the question. So that uses a lot of scale. It has some nice negative space up here, but it's a really big element. Now I need to use special characters. So in InDesign and in Illustrator, you have this term called glyphs. You will find lots of special characters. Those are your punctuation. You also have some other funky little things here that could be special characters. And if you scroll down, there's some even more. And these are great to kind of pal around in and kind of look and see what's in these things. And you can change the font. I'm using Bodoni right now, but if you wanted to use something else, there's all sorts of other special characters kind of hiding, right? So I'm going to go back to Bodoni, and where is my Bodoni? Here it is. And then what you can do, again, you want to add your special characters. They are a piece of type, so you need the type tool. I'm going to click and drag. I can either type it in, or I can use the special character for quotation mark, which is double click and it shows up there. If I don't want to use that, I just deleted it. There's another quotation mark, which is actually the real quotation marks. Double click the curly cues. I'm going to hit delete. I'm going to actually type them in myself on my keyboard. So I'm holding the shift. And again, I don't want those quotation marks. I want the curly cue. So it's going to look like I'm going to need to use the glyph one. So if I double click, space, and double click, I have what I am desiring, right? I'm going to make the box smaller. Whoops, made it too small, so it disappeared, right? So your bounding box matters. I could do type create outline if I want. I could just leave it in case I change my mind. I'm just going to use the free transform tool and make them small, right? Again, because we're supposed to deal with scale. So telling a story also, I'm done with this. I'm going to get rid of that. Telling a story is also manipulating a layout and color and other design elements and principles. I'm just going to use color and scale. You could use texture, you could use rhythm, make multiple things what you want, but scale is really important in plate 2 and color. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to use swatches. I'm going to use pink, and I'm going to change the tint to something really light, probably around 15. Let's take a look. Well, that's the outline. And I want to make sure that the outline says none. I use my type, but I have to hit the T here. Then I choose pink, and then I can slide this to about 15. So again, you're watching me make mistakes, which is cool. And now I'm going to leave it like that. So for me, this story is about, maybe this person, this thing, this object is protecting this maybe shy little thing that's trying to speak, but it needs a little bit of help. So that's my iteration for plate 2. Again, you should try to do at least 2 of them. We're going to move on to plate 3. So again, I might just take 3 and duplicate it. So now I have plate 3. This is just page 4. And we need to do, I'm going to delete, and we need to do pattern. We need to make a motif for a pattern. So when you want to bring a photograph in, so you search the internet, you get your patterns, you can choose more than one, you have to put them in. So you do file place, and we're going to do, here's my Nautilus motif pattern. So I'm going to bring it in. I find it. It's on my desktop. I hit open, and I'll just click, hold, and drag. And that puts it at the size that I want it to be. Okay. So that actually, again, I'm working on page 4, which is plate 3. I know it's a little confusing. This is where layers might be a little helpful. And my picture is on layer 3. Do I have anything on layer 2? No. I can put that up above, and I can lock down my image so it doesn't move. And now I'm working on layer 2. This is not a page. This is a layer. It gets a little complicated in InDesign. So now you analyze the picture to see what letter forms, what shapes of letter forms kind of look like your pattern, your objects in here. I could say a C, an O, an E might work. I'm going to try an E. So I'm going to use, again, the type tool, and I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to type the letter E. It comes in black. It's hard for me to see. I'm going to select it, and I'm going to change it. Again, I make sure I click the T, and I'm going to make it white just so it's easier for me to see. I'm going to make the bounding box bigger first, and then I'm going to type oh, wait, before I change it, I have to decide, do I want this font? Because once I switch it to type outline, I can't change it. I don't want this font. I'm going to try something else. So I'm going to select the letter form, and I'm going to start to play with some different ones, right? So let's see. I'm going to try, let's see what I got here. Rockwell. Where did it go? Oh, again, the bounding box is problematic, right? So you got to make sure that bounding box, once you start switching around. So that maybe, I don't like how that flares out. I'm going to try, these are things that I've tried before. I'm going to move, and let's see here. Maybe Avenir. Oh, that looks pretty good. It's nice and rounded. I think that's pretty good. And it's Avenir. Let me just bring up my character palette. It's Avenir Black. Perfect. I want it nice and bold. I happen to have it. I even could choose heavy, but that looks less. I want it black. I want it nice and black. When I say black, I mean bold, not the color, right? So now I'm ready to get rid of this bounding box. I'm going to go type, create outlines, boop, it comes back in, and I can use free transform, hold that shift key down to make it much larger. So I'm going to try to rotate this a bit and get this to kind of feel, I think this kind of looks like it belongs maybe, I don't know, somewhere like that, but I think it needs to get bigger. So let's make this a little bigger, somewhere like that maybe. I might want to rotate it a little bit more. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I'll put it there. And I'm going to copy and paste another one. I need 3. Now I don't want them to be similar. I need to rotate this one because otherwise it's just going to be too boring. And that one seems like it might go like that. So I'll put it right there, and I need to copy and I need to paste another one. And I'm going to move this one, but I don't want two the same. Again, we don't want too much similarity. So I'm going to rotate that maybe. Nope, that's like the top. How's that feel? Nope. Go around maybe. And again, pay attention to those negative and positive spaces. This just doesn't feel right yet. Maybe something like that. Because now I have some interesting negative space. Keep them open. I don't like that little bit there. Maybe like that. Okay, that seems sort of okay. I might go back and change this one a little bit to kind of move it sort of like that. Okay, so not everything is the same. Now, I do want you to try not to crop out too much of the letters. So I'm going to select them all with my shift key down, use my free transform tool, and make them a little bit bigger so they fit into the bounding box, and use my arrow key. So that's pretty good. There's a little bit of cropping here and here. You could make them fit exactly if you want. We can do that. Or you can use the crop a little bit. So now I have that tool. I have this motif down. Now, if I bring my layers back up, I'm going to turn off, I'm going to turn off my letters. I'm going to turn off my picture, but the letters are white. So let's keep them on here while we're coloring. So in the last one, you need to have a monochromatic or analogous or complementary color scheme for your motif. So I'm going to actually turn off the letters and analyze my pattern here. And it kind of looks like an analogous color scheme. So I'm actually going to try to replicate it. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to choose this one first, go to swatches, and you can actually choose maybe this color. And I might not want it that hot. Maybe I want it a little bit more pastel-y. So if you don't want to use the swatches and you want to use color, you can go up to here and choose color here. That's the little color palette. You can also choose RGB, and it gives you this color palette here. If you have a hard time like seeing this, you should be able to pull this off. And can we make this longer? I don't think so, not in InDesign, but let's try to grab it. So I'm going to grab this one. And again, I have to choose RGB, and I need to find kind of a orangey color, but that's not really, that's pretty good. And then I want to choose maybe yellowish color. So I'm going to choose RGB, and I'm somewhere in here, right? Okay, enough of that. Put that down there. So now I'm going to turn off my picture, and I have this motif pattern. Now do I want these overlapping? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. What if I don't? What if I want them just touching? So it's really important to pay attention before you bring this to the next stage, to pay attention to what you really want, how your negative and positive spaces are working, and now they're being cut off too much. So I'm going to use my arrow tool, touch, touch, touch. Looks pretty good. And I'm going to use my free transform and again, make them smaller so they're not getting cut off, right? Right there. All right, so I have the motif, and what we're going to do now is bring this into Adobe Capture, but we have to save it out first. I want to bring my layers palette up, turn off my bounding box. If you remember from the first video, I had a black bounding box. I don't want that because that will be part of the motif. So turn it off. Then do File, Export. We're going to export it as a JPEG, and I'm going to call it InDesign Motif. To the desktop, save. And it's on page 4, right? Page 4, 300 RGB fine, export. So let's go see if it's there. InDesign Motif, page 4. Yep, that's it is. It has no black line. We're good to go. So what you need to do is you need to take this, and you're going to need to put it into your photos to get it into Adobe Capture. So go ahead and put that into your photos, and then I'll meet you over in Adobe Capture video.